This is so funny. So I just finished recording my very first podcast episode, and I didn't have my mic turned on. And I'm trying really hard to just allow that to be. Well, I mean, it was an experience. It needed, you know what? It was absolutely a beautiful experience that needed to happen because it was sort of like an icebreaker. Like, if I'm being really honest with you, I had a lot of nerves about starting this thing. Somebody somebody mentioned years ago when I was still in the abuse space, Jackie, you should start a podcast. And it was something that I wanted to do, but I did not feel like people would want to listen to me. I didn't feel like I had things that were valuable to say. And, now that I think about it, it was a lot of self imposed limitations. Um, and I think I was still at the time oriented towards other people and their perception and what that meant about my values. So now obviously I'm not in the same space, but when I made the decision to do a podcast, and I'll talk about how this all came about. There was a lot of fear. Like, there's a lot of fear, not necessarily will people want to hear what I have to say, but like, will I be able to keep people engaged? Will is what I have to say. Well, I guess it's the same. Like, okay, it's the same fucking thing. And that's the cool thing about this sort of reflection work, is that I can now see that the energy was still oriented around that. But to like prepare myself to do this podcast, I actually mapped out an entire season ahead of time. Okay, Jackie's decided she wants to do a podcast. What should I talk about? What's going to be relevant? What's going to be important? And I mapped out an entire season of me sharing, insights and whatever things that I moved through. And before Christmas, I sat down to record the first episode, and the whole thing felt performative. Like, it felt like the perfectionism that has been running most of my life came out. It was like being expressed right then and there. And it was so interesting to experience how these things that we move, these self-abandonment practices that we try to move through, or we move through, or we witness and we experience, how they can still show up even when you make a choice about something that you want to do because you know that it's going to expand you. It's so fascinating to witness these things show up. And so I recorded the first episode. It felt so fucking performative. I was like, I cannot release this. Not even that other people are not going to enjoy it, but it was just simply like inauthentic to myself and to my expression. And now you're probably going to notice, like, I'm releasing this on all platforms, but if you're watching it on YouTube where there's video, like, I'm not even looking at my camera. Like, I don't even care. I'm not here to, connect with anybody like this. I'm here to just transmit, right? So I recorded my first episode back in December. It felt shitty. It felt performative. It didn't feel like me. So I decided to trash it. I decided that I need to start over. Like, even the whole map of the podcast felt performative. So I decided to shift. I decided that instead of trying to plan what I want to say and how I want to say it, and if it's going to impact people, I am just going to come here, show up, and speak about whatever juicy thing is going on inside of my head. Because let me tell you, I feel like in the space that I'm in right now, there is so much yumminess going on inside of my head that just cannot be transferred in a YouTube short, in a TikTok, in an Instagram reel, like the stuff that I want to speak about because it makes me feel alive cannot be captured in 45 seconds. So that's the reason why I am shifting to this space. December, maybe the beginning of December, I listened to a podcast that I was a guest on. And I had recorded that podcast about 2 months. About 2 months prior to that. It took some time for her to release that episode. And when I finally listened to it, I remember thinking to myself, who the fuck is this person? The energy and the authority and the full embodiment of who this person was not somebody I recognized. And that was the first time that I actually perceived myself already operating from an identity that I hadn't consciously claimed. And so witnessing that episode was really pivotal for me because it allowed me to, it showed me who I actually was, but I needed to claim that as my identity. And so after that episode, I made a lot of choices, a lot of shifts and choices about how I was orienting my energy, not just in the online space, like not just in my work, but in my relationships and in what I was doing with my time. Like I just recognized that I needed to shift how I was orienting my energy because it wasn't aligning with this new identity that I was embodying. So slowly over the period of 2 months, I started to make some shifts. And one of those shifts was switching from my focus being on short form content to my focus being on long form content. And there's a big reason for that. And it's because, you can't always capture all of the nuances and all of the details and all of basically what I want to talk about does not live in short form content. It lives in long form content. And so doing the podcast was, from my perspective, the next logical step, giving me a container where I can actually share who I really am outside of, being performative online. And a big part of that was releasing, I stopped identifying as healing and being on a healing journey a few months before that, maybe 6 months before that. But that moment shifted my perception of my own identity, where I no longer wanted to be a healer. I no longer wanted to be the space where I help people process their emotions, where I hold people's trauma. And it doesn't mean that a lot of people end up in this space. And I ended up in this space because I was healing out loud, right? I came online. I started sharing my journey because I was processing an abusive relationship. And through that journey, I started to get called to help other people move through the same things. And so that's what I was doing. I was holding space. I was giving people words and language for what they were going through. And I took on a healer and a teacher identity. And it became my identity for 2 years. 2 years, that was my identity, where everything about what I was doing was about helping other people. And through helping other people, I helped myself. I allowed myself to expand. I moved through my own things, but holding the role of healer was actually keeping me in a space and in an energy that was starting to not feel good. And it doesn't mean that, anybody's wrong for being in that space. Fuck, I was in that fucking space. I was in that space for years, right? And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with being in that space. But I think, part of the growth work and part of the evolution and part of expansion is that we eventually move out of it, right? That is what I needed at that time in my life, to be able to move through the things that I was moving through. But I'm not there anymore, right? I don't identify as healing. I don't identify as being on a healing journey. I don't identify as, needing those tools and needing those practices. There's a much simpler experience of life now for me. Now, with that said, it doesn't mean that I don't move through shit. I absolutely do, but I don't perceive it in a way where I'm fixing or I'm healing. I think healing with the language of healing suggests that there is something wrong and that you need to fix it. And that's just not the lens that I view any of this from anymore. There's nothing wrong. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. So when I have that perspective, I then cannot identify as a healer, because if I do, then there's a paradox. The paradoxes are really uncomfortable. So this podcast is not about teaching you things. It's not about showing you where you need to grow or how to heal. It's not about trauma. It's not about a healing journey. It's not about anything. It is me coming to a microphone and speaking, because there's a lot of cool shit that happens once you're in creator energy. And I don't think there's enough people that speak about it. Like, oh my God, I've had some really wild moments where I watch the unfolding of things. Like in manifestation spaces, we talk a lot about reality reorganizing to meet you. And when you've actually had that experience, it is really fucking cool. And I think that when you're in that space and you're just starting that space, the only reason I was able to recognize it happening was because somebody else I know had already moved through it and was sharing with me their experiences. And so by them sharing their experiences, I was able to, like, as I was witnessing things happening, I was able to relate back and be like, oh shit, that's what they said happened. And that's what I'm moving through. Oh my God. So I'm in that space right now where reality is reorganizing. I'm in the middle of an identity shift. Like I just quantum jumped. Like, it's just really, it's not that it's you need the validation, but you kind of do. Like when you've got one foot in one reality and one foot in another reality, you kind of need confirmation that what you're experiencing and what you're perceiving, and that's the root of it, is it's all perception, right? What you're perceiving is actually happening. And so I think the goal of this podcast for me is to just show up and be me. Whatever I'm moving through, whenever, like I get the wildest experiences, and, I am still really good at finding the teeny tiny little energetic pieces that still belong to an old identity. And when they show up, like to be able to witness it and see it and collapse it right away. Like I just, from my perspective, it is so fun talking about these things. So that's what I'm here for. I just want to share. And I think that's what I'm calling this podcast. It's just inside my journey or something like that. Like I just want to share what I'm moving through now. My entire online presence started from me sharing what I was moving through. And I think it's beautiful that it's coming full circle, but this time it's coming from a place where it's for me. Like it was for me in the beginning, when I was talking about abuse, it was for me. And then it turned into some sort of like performative. I'm a coach now and I have to hit these metrics and I got to talk about what people want to hear and all of these things. And it got to a place where it was like, really, it was no longer fun. One, the stuff I was talking about no longer resonated with me. And two, it just it felt like I was in a world, I was trying to perform in a world that I no longer related to. So now I'm here and I'm can just speak on whatever it is I feel like speaking on, and I don't have to care how it lands, if it resonates, who's listening. I don't care if the only person listening is my mother. Like I don't care. um I just am speaking what I know, and it will reach the right people when they're ready to hear it. And I think that's the beauty of really just honoring yourself and honoring your authenticity, which is what the whole journey was, right? My whole journey was finding authenticity. And I have found it. And I am here to share it. I'm here to be it. So if you want to be it too, it's your choice. I have no idea what this season is going to have in store. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I have a feeling I am just going to show up to the mic and see what comes out and record it and post it and go from there. And if you have been following me for my entire journey, I want to say that I appreciate you so much. It's been fun. There's been tears and there's been joy and there's been movement and there's been stagnancy and it's all been necessary. Every single piece of the journey was necessary. I do not regret anything. I do not feel any sort of shame about anything that I moved through, that I did. It was all a part of it. So wherever you're at on your path, you're exactly where you're meant to be. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. It's such a beautiful space to be. So I am looking forward to doing this more and to sharing my thoughts. And maybe they resonate and maybe they don't. And I don't give a fuck either way. I love this. Thank you so much, guys. And I will see you. I don't know when. You'll find me when it's time to find me. Thanks for being here. Bye.